And so that's like, I love that passage because for I am the Lord your healer. It's like, wow, that's so powerful that I live my life on that concept now. It's like I'm creating products and solutions to help people with their health. That I want to be able to not, I can't say I'm a healer, right? But I want to help people. I know the Lord, because that's not me, right? The Lord is the one that's healing people, and I want to lead them there.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Kingdom First Podcast, God's Blueprint for Your Best Life. If you're tuning into this episode, this is a very, very special episode because we are having our first time ever guest episode. And before we get into me introducing the guests that we have today, I wanted to share why I'm switching the format. So as y'all have tuned in, I've done solo episodes up until this point. I'll continue to do solo episodes as I need as we go along. But I just had it on my heart that I wanted to start really showcasing real world examples, real life people that have submitted and given their life to Christ, and what that journey truly looks like at the end of the day. So as I was going through and kind of like racking my brain on like my Rolodex, I'm like, man, who are some real followers of Christ that I've been able to meet throughout my life that quite honestly have inspired me along my journey. And I started reaching out to him. And today we have our first guest, Rene, where we connected, it feels like almost a year ago on one of my former podcasts, Real Talk of Real Business Pros. And I just remember when I connected with Rob, I was like, man, we can talk about business, man. But when we started talking about God and his story and some of the adversities he's gone through and how that led him ultimately to Christ, I was like, I got to have this guy back on the show. So with that being said, Rob, thank you so much, man, for coming on and being a guest on the Kingdom Podcast, man. It's an honor to have you back.
Well, it's an honor to be your first guest, man. It's like so cool. We're gonna look back on this many years from now, and you're gonna be Joe Roganish, and
I don't know.
And I'll say, hey, I was the first guest.
Yeah,
man.
that would be pretty dope, man.
God can do it. God can do it.
We'll see where he wants to take it, but
there you go.
Once again, as we do this, like as I told you before we started recording, like I don't have a script. I don't have certain questions I'm going to ask you. Man, we're just going to have a conversation, man, and just start breaking stuff down as we go. So I think the best place to start is I'd love for you to just share with who is Rene? Where's your background? Where did this all start? And then we'll just kind of go from there.
Sounds awesome. So I have to tell the story of my youth because it really has a big impact. Like now I have the luxury of looking back on my life and saying, my gosh, I can see how God orchestrated every step of the way. Right. But man, as you're going through it, you don't feel like that. But a big part of my story is, I was an athlete when I was young. So I love to run. That was one of the things that I was a lot better at than any other sport. I love all sorts of sports, but running just became natural to me. And my brother was 4 years older than I, and I, follow him into running. I ended up winning a national cross country championship when I was in my youth, and got a full ride running scholarship to a D1 school. And at that point, I was like, my goal in life is to be a professional runner. And then lo and behold, I got hit by a 4x4 truck out on a run, and that almost ended my life. Got really, and because I survived that accident, I knew that God had a plan for my life, because there was some things about that accident that happened that I really probably shouldn't have survived.
So let me ask you this, man. So like, obviously, like when it first happens, you go through the shock of like, I just got hit by a truck. Like, wow. Right. Like, where was your faith with Christ at this point? Were you already kind of like a Christian, or was this kind of like the aha that like created that introduction for that relationship?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I grew up as Episcopalian, but I was one of those AKA Christians that would go to church on Sunday, and then as soon as the door hit me in the butt, I didn't think about church until walking into the church the next Sunday, right? And I love that hour, and I really gained a lot from it, but obviously I didn't walk it out, and so I wasn't being a true follower of Christ during that period of my life. But when that accident happened, it did strengthen my faith. But at the same point, I went through a really big depression period where my whole goal in life was gone. And then I just did what the world told me to do. Right, the world told me to go get a college degree and then go get a job at a big company and get a 401k and get a white house with a white picket fence and have 3 children and have a dog and play video games and watch sports all day long. It was like that was my life, and I filled it full of all that crap. Now that I look back on it, for many years, like for decades, I had a great corporate job, and I was really good at that corporate job. And then just and I was a Christian, like I talked about. I was more of, I call them Creasters now, right? People who go to church on Christmas and Easter, and that's about it. And I went probably every Sunday, but it still it didn't impact my life and change it until that second truck that hit me, which was the pandemic. And that pandemic transitioned my life dramatically, similar to how my first truck that hit me transitioned my life from being a goal to be a runner to, okay, now my goal is to be a professional and do what the world told me to do. And I'm thankful for the pandemic from the perspective as it really gave me time to research what's going on in the world, and it had a transformational effect on who I am and what I'm trying to do in this world. Right, it gave me time to research what was going on in the health industry and how corrupt our medical system is, or just our health system is. And then I started creating solutions for people, and that same period of time was the first time that I actually opened up the Bible and started reading it on a daily basis. And man, the living Word of God is so powerful. And so it was so much fun, where I literally developed a personal relationship with Christ. And through that period, that's transformed my whole goal in life now. Right. So my goal in life isn't to be a professional and to have a mansion and to have 10 cars and to have all these things. None of that matters. Like, everything I own is God's, and I'm trying to be a good steward of what He's given me, and I'm letting Him lead me in where I'm going and what I'm doing. And so my goal is to have an impact on the kingdom, regardless. I can't have an impact on the kingdom if I have little of anything, right? If I have no money and I have no impact and no influence, then I can't help the kingdom very much, right? And I want to have a huge impact on the kingdom, so I want to build a really good, solid business that is founded on His principles and biblical principles. And then I want to help people in a dramatic way, and then I want to help them with their health, and then I want to help them with their faith through their health. So that's my mission in life. I call myself a faith and health warrior, and it's for a reason, right? Because I really honestly believe that if I look back at my entire life, that's the mission He's given Rob Rene, is to go help people with their health, and then help them with their faith through it.
Ain't it funny how God's plan is always better than ours?
Oh, way better than mine.
So,
If you would have told me,
yeah,
10 years ago that I'd be doing this today,
right.
actually, talking about my faith, I was scared to death to talk about my faith. I was scared to death to talk about, politics, right? It's like the things that I know little about are the things I did not want to have a conversation about. So, faith was a huge part of that, right? It's like, okay, I was guarding it, right? Of course I'm a Christian. I'm a good Christian. I do the right things, and I try to make the right decisions, and I try to raise my family in a godly way, but I wasn't living like a true follower of Christ, right? And so that has been just what's been so transformational for me, was to do that Sunday to Sunday thing, and then transitioning to having giving my whole life over to Him, and realizing that, man, when I give it to Him, he takes care of everything. And I work really hard at saying, okay, Lord, what do you want me to do today? Right. And how do you want me to do? And I follow what his lead is, and where He takes me. Sometimes I don't expect it.
Yeah, man.
And I don't plan it, but He's got an amazing, just works out well.
So it's interesting because, like, a lot of what I'm picking up from you is a lot of what I experienced too. Was, when you first start off on this path, we all think that everything's judged based on our works. What do we
Right.
do?
Right.
Right? How do we
Yeah.
show up? Like
Yeah.
all the like results that we create at the end of the day. And we think that's what's going to make us either good, middle, or bad, right? Where
Right.
as I've gone deeper down the rabbit hole and more towards like my own experience as well, is like God doesn't care about your works. He wants your heart. He wants your trust.
Yeah.
He wants your
Yeah.
faith. Like that's the thing that he wants, right? So it's like I
Yeah.
spent so
Yeah.
long, man, operating in works and just to get mad when it wouldn't turn out the way that I thought it should
Yeah.
turn out. I'm like, I'm doing the right
That's
things.
right.
I'm a
Like,
good
come on,
guy.
God, I asked you for that. Why didn't you deliver, right? It's
Right.
like, you know,
And
we're ordering off the menu, and they're like, "Hey, come on, Lord, this is what I want right here."
yeah,
He's like, "No, I have a different plan for you."
right. So
Uh,
like for me, it wasn't until what I call fully bent the knee. Like I fully submitted. I didn't submit 99% and still hold that 1% where I'm like, well, worst case, if he doesn't come through, I'm just gonna go do this because I am the creator. I am a man. I'm a go getter and all these things. No, for me, it was when I 100% bent the knee and, like you said, gave it to him. And what I take that as is you gave him your heart, you gave him your trust. That's when all the magic, quote unquote, started happening for your life and your new
yeah,
plan and your new design for everything. So what I'd like to hear from you is like, what was that process like? Because for me, it took so long for me to
yeah,
finally
yeah.
get to the point where I was willing to just let go of everything.
Yeah, it took a very long time. As I was doing I was probably what the pandemic was 6 years ago, maybe
Wow, it has
at this
it?
point. And it's
Dang.
it's been a long time, but at least maybe not that long, but 5 or 6 years. At least that's where the process for me has been going on. And during that period, is was like, wow, I started reading the Bible every day, and that transformation was took a long time, right? To develop that confidence and trust in him that I could give everything over to him and that he is going to take care of me, right? It wasn't something that I just woke up one day and said, okay, I've bent the knee and I'm giving it all to you. For me personally, some people that happens for, which is fantastic, but for me it was a really long journey. It was like, okay, I am a Christian. I trust in God. I wear this cross every day for a reason. But then it became a relationship,
Mm.
not just a thing. The relationship was where it really transitioned for me. Whereas, like, I can pray to him, I can communicate with him, and I believe that he leads me in the right direction, right? And so I work really hard at saying just submitting, and that process did take a long time. I would say it probably took a year and a half to really get that confidence that, okay, I have given you everything. And then you still get to that point where, like, did I really give him everything, or am I holding back that 1%,
Yeah.
right? So you have this back and forth in your mind of like, did I? And when you have a family, it makes it even more complex. It's like, I'm giving everything over to them. It's like, well, but what about your relationship with your wife? And then you start learning about your relationships of how God designed marriage, right? And how you do become one. And so that's an interesting topic as well. But it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, so man, it's so interesting that like you kind of worked in like this like year and a half like progression of just kind of like taking one step in front of the other, going towards it.
Right.
For me, man, I hit like rock bottom. Like I hit a point where I was like, I'm done. Like I've
Right.
tried every way to try to get the cheese at the end of the maze, and it always ends
Right.
up with me with poo poo on my face. Like that's what it felt like, right?
I understand that.
And it
Yeah.
put me into a state of like depression and anxiety, which I'd never experienced before. It scared the hell
Right.
out of me, man. I was like, am I gonna
Yeah.
live with this forever? Like I can't do this, right? And this is where I tried alcohol, I tried CBD, I tried anti-anxiety, I tried exercise, I tried everything to try to just alleviate this gnawing feeling of distress and anxiety and just not even wanting to get up that day. And for me, that was what led me to the like, here's my last path, my last option. I'm just gonna give it to him. And I remember running out to my car one night, dude, and literally was screaming it because I didn't want my wife to hear me. I went in the car, just screamed at God, just like, why? Like,
Wow.
why? I go, I'm all
Right.
in. I believe in you. I'm all in, but I just need you to take this off of me. I can't do it anymore. And I just need to know
Right.
what the plan is. I'm all in, whatever it is, but I gotta know what it is. And over the next
Right.
few days, like literally, that my anxiety disappeared instantly from there. That was the
That's
first thing
awesome.
that I was like, um, what? Like
Yeah.
that, because that's what's closed me. Like, he's real, right? Because I tried
Yeah.
everything else, and this was like 9-10 months, man, of just struggle town going through this,
Struggling
and then
through it. Right.
instantly went away.
That's
And over
amazing.
the next few
Amen.
days, I got some
Amen.
revelations for me. I'm like, all right, here's the plan. And man, I've just been doing my best to run it ever since. Now, on the other side of that, though, man, there's definitely parts where I'm like, I feel it's very easy to slip back and the old habits.
Yeah.
It's easy to be humble when you're on your knees and your life puts you on your butt. It's easy to put
Right.
God first when you're struggling, but when you start getting a little bit of success, you start getting a little bit
Right.
of,
You're like, yeah, that's
oh
me.
man, and I struggle. I struggle with that. Like, I'm not a cocky guy, but I'm very confident and capable in what I
Right.
do. So I naturally have this look at me, let me puff my chest out. So it's something
Right.
that I
I
struggle
think as
with.
males, we just have that, right?
Yeah,
I think that's it. At least me, I am the same way, right? So I think that's just inside us. I think he built us that way. So it's okay, right? But we just need to understand that we have that feeling and then still release it to him, right?
yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. So I just share
Yeah.
that to kind of like, I'm kind of the other side, but like my test is like having to stay there, right? So
Yeah.
for,
Yeah.
so for you, and I'll share some things that help with me. What are some things that help you stay in the pocket, right? Because it's easy to deviate and get distracted, or I don't know if you've had this, but there's been times where like it's like, did God really do that? And then you start questioning it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even though you
Yeah.
experienced it, but because the feeling's gone, now it's like you start to forget, right?
Right.
And it's like, and that's where a lot of people I think get stuck on. Like, I need to feel it. Well, yeah, there's going to be
Right.
certain times that you get to feel it, but there's a lot of times where you don't feel anything. And
Right.
that's the
Yeah.
valley. That's the test. Like, how do you stay
There is.
in the pocket during the valley?
Yeah, the way I look at it is a lot of people have that spiritual moment, right? Or have a spiritual connection that just like rocks their world, which is amazing, right? But that doesn't happen all the time, and so how do you respond and how do you act and how do you keep on that path? And to me, it's being in the living word, right? If you're in the Bible on a daily basis and you're praying and you're having that quiet time with him and you're reading his word, he literally speaks through you through his word. So even though you're reading uh, First Kings and you're reading about the destruction of a society, and while you're reading that, he's talking to you about what's going on today, right? Or what's going on tomorrow, and you're just like, where did that come from, right? It's like, is that just my mind that's thinking that, or is that God telling me about that, right? So if you just open up your mind and you continue to be in the word, and then he talks to you about things that I think that's where at least in that's where I find comfort is, doing that. And I've been recently listening to the Bible, in trying to get through the entire Bible in 90 days, right? Which is
Oh,
a really, really big task chronologically. And it's just
yeah.
like, I'm halfway through it now. And it's a,
Good for
it's a
you,
blast because
man.
I'm listening to it. And it's like, but as I'm listening to it, I find my mind drifting. Right. And when I'm drifting, I try to come back to it. But at the same time, those drifts, in my opinion, are ways where he's communicating with me. It's like, okay, start thinking about this. I'm like, oh, I got to come back to the story, what's happening in the story, and so I can understand it and learn from it. But he's teaching me other things as I'm going through the word, right? So anyway, that's the way I personally find to stay on that path, is to be in the word. And when I'm on and I do that, I really feel a stronger connection. I really feel that I can follow him and be confident that he really literally does all things for my good, even though there's lots of things that I'm going through that are not fun. And they're super duper challenging and super difficult because all of us, especially being a Christian, we're going to be persecuted, and we're also going to have lots of trials and tribulations. The Bible clearly tells us that, right? That everybody who's been a great follower of Christ has gone through a lot of issues, a lot of difficult issue, problems. But if you have faith and confidence in Him, He, at the end of the day, is doing all those things for our good. And if you can just continue to remember that okay, yeah, what I'm going through now really sucks, and but if I can continue to have faith in Him and continue to walk the way He wants me to walk and do the things He wants me to do, then I know at the end of the day, I'm going to get through this particular period of time, and that things are going to come out the way He intended. Right. So that's kind of my path.
Yeah, no, I agree 1,000% with getting in the Word and praying, I do have a follow up question on the reading part. 'Cause that's impressive, man, to get through like half of it, even halfway through 90 days. But I do want to share something else too. Is like, because you're absolutely right. Life happens for us, not to us, and it's easy to see that as you're getting older, right? So I'm gonna be
Right.
40 next
Yeah.
month, like big 40, right? So
You young pup.
well, I don't feel like it anymore. Anyway,
I hear
I'm
you.
hitting the next level of like I'm not the young guy anymore, right? So
Right.
I've been through some
Right.
things. So like you, like I can look back and I can tie certain events that felt world ending, but looking at it now and where I'm at, I'm like, if that hadn't happened, that wouldn't have changed me in this way or connected me with this person. There's always something that was divinely taken from that moment that put me on the path I'm at now, which once again, like, dude, I couldn't be happier with like once I locked in on God's plan, like where He has me and my family and all these things, right? But if you were to tell me that in my 20s, I never would have
Oh yeah.
believed you because I just didn't have enough life experience to connect some of those things, right? So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's why it's also important to, if you really want to keep that relationship, is you got to get around other people that are on that same path with you, right? For
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
longest time,
Yeah.
man, like I was going through this journey, what felt like by myself, right? Like I was going to
Right.
church, but like I wasn't connecting with anyone there. I was reading the Bible, but I wasn't really engaging my wife in dialogue about it. I was just in my own little island, just like sometimes
Right.
thinking I'm crazy. Like, am I imagining this? Is this real? But I'm so locked in on finding truth. I'm like a pit bull, man. Like I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep hunting for it. But once I
That's awesome.
once I started connecting with other what I call kingdom minded people that are
Yeah.
truly about this life and can lend insight and wisdom and through their own experiences, man, I always feel the presence of God when I have I feel it
Yeah.
right now talking with you, right? It was just
Amen.
part of why I wanted to
Amen.
start having guests on here. So I think that's another important thing to keep in mind too, is like,
Yeah.
obviously you can go get super involved in church and that's, obviously that's great, but also like just finding people, and it might only be like 3 4 maybe 5 people that you connect with,
That's right.
but lock in with those people and start doing life with them, and I found that be tremendously beneficial in terms of like building that relationship with God and building that faith muscle as well. Now to circle back to my
That's
question,
true.
back on reading the Bible. So, man, I'm going to make a confession here. So, I made a promise, or I made a goal, right, or promise to myself, which I have not kept, that I was going to read the Bible within a year. And I did. And I got on the Holy
Uh-huh.
Bible app on my phone, and I was
Right.
doing great, dude. And I started in Genesis, like very beginning.
Uh-huh. Yep.
And
Right.
I'm at right now. I'm in Samuel Samuel 2. Right. I don't know how much further
Okay.
I have to go. That's where I'm at now. And I just saw a Facebook post yesterday that was a year ago. Me talking about starting and finishing reading the Bible, and I was like, oh man, like I
Dang it.
screenshotted it, and I was like, I failed, man. And for me, like I got the last couple months, man, like I've been just thrown off because, like you, I was reading the Bible and just like finding myself like going like my BB brain just jumping over here. And it was just hard for
Right.
me to just understand like what is being said. And they start name it's like Game of Thrones episode 1. It's like, I don't know all these people. Like, where's all this?
I
And
know.
that's what threw me
Yeah.
off. And once again, I'm not using it as an excuse, but I want to ask you, like, what are some things that maybe you've done to help you, like, kind of lock in more? Because when I read it, I don't want to just go through the motions. Like, I want to understand what's going on so I can lock on. And with Old Testament, there's just a lot of, it's not the sexy stuff. It's not the Gospels. It's
No,
not the
there's not. Right.
Chosen,
Yeah.
right? Which is
It's not
the fun parts
exactly.
of the
Yeah.
Bible, right? I'm reading the
Right.
nitty gritty, like, sometimes really
Right.
dry parts of the Bible, but I think it's important. And I'd love to hear some advice, not just for whoever's listening, but for me personally, so I can finish the
Yeah, no,
Bible.
I think that's a really important part of the conversation. I look at it in two ways. I love to research things in the Bible and understand a topic or understand an item and or a thing, but that's 100% different than reading the Bible. Like what I'm trying to do chronologically, right? And I'm doing it with an audible thing because I find that I can do it while I'm doing other activities. I go for long walks right now, so a lot of times I'm using that period of time where I have 45 minutes, and that's almost about the time that this chronological listening of the Bible, because I listen to it 1.5 speed, and I am listening to it on my walk, and that's been phenomenal because I most of the time I'm not communicating with somebody and I'm out by myself and I'm doing a walk and I can, but then, like you said, my mind goes in other areas and I'm like, may not have listened to that in it really ingested it, but I think I think your brain ingests it and understands it, but you may not be able to regurgitate it word for word, or you may have missed a particular topic. But that's what's kind of fun about the Bible is, and I'm listening to it chronologically, so it'll talk about the same story in 3 different ways, right?
Mm,
And then you're like, oh yeah, I remember just a few minutes ago we were talking about this same story, but now it's telling it to me in a different, different book, the same story, and it's told a little bit differently. And then you're like, oh, okay, now I remember and I understand it, and so you do kind of get the main gist of the story, which I think is really important for a Bible based believer, is to really kind of have an understanding of the whole thing. But then, once you've gone through the whole thing, then I think it's fun to go start researching specific topics. And so I still research specific topics, but I don't consider that my AKA reading time. And so that's how I kind of differentiate the two. And I'm okay if my mind wanders and if my mind comes back. I don't go back and listen to that. But at the same point, I think I'm going to get it from another book or another thing. And then I think it's okay. I think because my mind is receiving that information,
mm,
and that's what's so wonderful about the Bible and praying, is that you can literally ask for knowledge and you can and ask for understanding, and he's going to help you get the right knowledge and the right understanding as you're going through that process. So anyway, I don't stress about the oh my gosh, I missed that and I need to go back and do that, because I think it's going to take me twice as long to do it and I may not even get as much out of it. Whereas if I just continue to pray that he's going to help me understand and help give me the knowledge that I need through this process, and then he may find it. I might find a topic. He's like, I want you to go research that, right?
mm,
And that's what I'm going through now. I'm researching, healing in the Bible and herbs in the Bible and superfoods in the Bible and how they can help people and how does prayer work in the Bible, and how does that help a human being today? So those are the things that I'm researching that are totally different than me going through the Bible in a year. Does that make sense?
yeah, think that I need to hear that. Thank you. I was getting very caught up on, oh, I missed this part. I don't fully understand. And now I'm getting stressed out. And now I just don't want to do it
Right.
versus just go
Right.
through the reps. And because I definitely understand, like, that's just go into our unconscious mind, whether we want to or not.
Yep.
And I've literally done
Exactly.
trainings where I've like reprogrammed like how I view things by just listening to things over and over and over and over
Right.
again. So it's the
Right.
same thing with this. So, dude, thank you for sharing that. That
Yeah,
helped
I
me
think
kind
that'll
of.
help you a lot. And then I think you're going to be comfortable doing it again, right? You're going to say, okay, I got like this 90-day thing. It's a pretty big commitment,
Yeah,
right? I got to
that I
do
don't know about 90
45
days.
minutes.
That's aggressive.
Right. But it's actually really, I'm really enjoying it just because it's like, man, and I like right now, I'm half a day behind. I had my family, my children come in and grandchildren from
Oh,
Oregon for
cool.
the last 4 days, and I got through 3.5 of the 4 days, right? So now I'm a half day behind. I got to get that catch up on that half a day, but it's easy for me to do if I don't get too far behind.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, it's really a challenge, but at the same point, I'm really loving it because it's like, wow, this is the first time in my life that I've really tried to dedicate that time to do. I've read the Bible. I don't know if I've ever read beginning to end. I've read so much of it that I'm not sure if I have. So I'm like, well, geez, I just need to get through it. So I wanted to start chronologically and just kind of listen to everything.
Yeah.
Man, it's just Hezekiah is a lot, a big part of the story that I just got through listening and how amazing he was as a follower of Christ and the things that he did, and just wow, the things that I know the name Hezekiah. Yeah. Did I know anything that he did? No.
Right.
Right. And so now it's fun that I can go back and say, oh wow, yeah, Hezekiah did this and this, and it was really really interesting to learn those types of things. So I
Yeah.
encourage you, just don't stress about your mind wandering, because I believe the Lord's communicating with you through those wanderings.
Hmm. No, that's deep, man. And yeah, and I'm going to ask you a question from this, but I kind of want to tee it up a little bit. So one of the things I started reading the Bible for is I just want to know truth. That's it. I just want to know truth, whether I like it or not. I don't care. I just
Right.
what is
Right.
truth, right? And one of the truths that I've seen throughout the Bible, once again, I'm through Samuel 2, where I'm at with this, but every single thing that God has started, He finished. He didn't do
Right.
half of it. He didn't do 2/3 of it. He didn't do 5/6 of it. He did all of it, and a lot of times, and some on top of it.
Right.
And I just found that like really encouraging in terms of like, the promises that are made for us. And once again, my own experiences with like, what I feel called to do in my life, and knowing that, God finishes everything He starts. I found tremendous peace in that. Whenever I'm
Yeah.
going through, tough things in my life. And that's just one of the things I pulled from there. Other things are like, some really cool biblical principles, because kind of like you, um, I want to run not just my life, but my business, right, through a biblical
Yeah.
worldview. Because once again, I
100%.
believe that's a success template is in the
It
Bible.
is. It is 100% a template that we should be living our lives on. He's given it all to us, right? That even comes down to even what we should be eating, right? I mean, and I don't do just the biblical based diet, but I do take a lot of principles from the Bible. I think He gave us everything on this earth for us to nourish our bodies, and then it can heal itself because of the way that He designed our bodies, if we give it the right nutrients, right? And He gave us the right nutrients on this earth. So I'm going through a lot of that right now. Man, it's really, really powerful. And then I 100% agree with you that the business principles are in the book, right? It's amazing that you just look through Proverbs, and the wisdom that's in Proverbs is just it's incredible, right? You read Proverbs. What's one of the things I love to do too is I literally read a proverb every day, right? So there's 31 proverbs, and so you get through, 30 days, or you can actually get through each one of the proverbs, and it's just like, wow, there's so much wisdom in that book itself, that you could build your business just around the principles in proverbs, and as well as your
All
life.
right,
So
so we'll do. We'll play a fun game. What's your favorite business biblical principle, and what's your favorite, say, family or just personal biblical principle? And once again, I know they all bleed into one another, but like if you
yeah.
have to kind of
Yeah.
pick like this one, like I really love this when it comes to business, and this one in terms of my family, and obviously we apply them to both areas. But I'd love to hear like what's your favorite in both those categories.
Yeah, and I have to go literally with this statement. I like literally on our supplements, like, for I am the Lord your healer, right? It's Exodus 15:26, and that is the basis of not only healing physically but spiritually, right?
Mm.
And so in my opinion, so it's like it's just so amazing that that can be that he is there, right? It's if we trust in him, then he can heal us both spiritually and physically, and that is so powerful that you can really help impact a lot of people's lives when you can get them to understand that that is, that Jesus Christ died for our sins, and that he did, heal us and can heal us, and that we need to have trust like the woman with blood that wanted to touch his garment. She knew that if she touched his garment, she had that faith that said, if I touch his garment, I will be healed. And having that faith is something I strive for.
Mm.
I want to have that faith like she did. I want to have that faith that's like, if I do this thing, that the Lord will heal me. And lo and behold, she had so much faith that when she did, that Jesus knew that something had happened. Right? He knew this strength had been taken from him and into that woman, and she was healed. And so that's like, I love that passage because for I am the Lord your healer. It's like, wow, that's so
Mm.
powerful that I live my life on that concept now. It's like I'm creating products and solutions to help people with their health. That I want to be able to not, I can't say I'm a healer, right? But I want to help people. I know the Lord, because that's not me, right? The Lord is the one that's healing people, and I want to lead them there. So like in our product, we include a prayer guide that goes with every single bottle of what we sell, right? Because we want people to be in the Word, and we want them to use their mouth to pray about their health, and to literally declare it. There's power in the tongue,
Mm.
right? The Bible tells us that. So that I would say is my foundational Bible. And then, of course, I love from a personal perspective is like, literally, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Like that, of course, is like a cliche in so many people's lives, but really at the same point, how can you not like that, right? It's like, that's such a cool thing, right? It's like he can give me strength to do anything, even when you got to that point where you had to go out to your car, right, and scream to him. And but all things through Christ, he gives you that strength. So boom, he healed you of your anxiety, and boom, I'm doing the same thing now. I'm going through a health struggle that is like, wow, I didn't ever think that me personally would have to go through this particular struggle. And but I know millions of other people are and have, and I'm just like, okay, Lord, give me the strength to get through this. But I know that you've given me the strength, and I can do everything through you. So I have to just have that faith, and developing that faith like the woman with blood is not easy. I'll admit that, and I want people to understand that it's not easy to have that deep level of faith that you just trust in him, and you know that he's going to do what you're asking. And he may not do what you're asking, but it's because he's got a plan for your
Right.
life,
It's
right?
better
But
if he doesn't.
yeah, I mean, if you woke up today with breath in your lungs, the Lord has a plan for your life. So you have to remember that, right? You are here. You have a chance. It don't matter if you're 2 years old or 99 years old or 105 years old. If you woke up with breath in your lungs, God still has a plan for your life. So when you realize that, it's like, okay, I do have a life, and He has given me another day. What can I do today that's going to have an impact on the world, right? And of course, there's lots of processes that take a long time for things to happen. But if you were diligent, and like you did just relatively recently, you got on your knees and you submitted to him, and now you're just following his path. And guess what? He's going to keep leading you in the right direction. He's going to say, well done, right? And let's start going.
Yeah.
And he's going to open up doors for you that you never thought would open, and he's going to direct your life in a way that you never thought possible. And I honestly believe that same thing for me. That if I look back on my life, it's like, man, I went through like that, getting that hit by the truck that first time. That sucked, because I was like, man, I was really on my way. I just, I thought I was going to be an Olympic athlete, and I was going to be a professional runner, and boom, one day that stopped. But he's like, okay, I trained you to learn how to deal with your body and learn how to understand how important nutrition was. And then boom, I went into the corporate world, and he says, I want you to be a great communicator. I want you to learn how to get in front of a group of people and talk about a topic and present a topic and be a good professional at that. And boom, then my sales career ends because of the pandemic. And then he's like, okay, good. Now I've taught you how to live with nutrition and health as a young athlete, and then boom, I put you into the professional world, and I taught you how to communicate and have a conversation and how to actually sell things, right? Which is a process and which is important. And then he's like, okay, boom, now I want you to learn about health. And I want you to understand the corruption that's going on in our world around health. And then guess what? I want a personal relationship with you, young man. Yeah. And I started having a personal relationship with him, and that's transformed my entire life. But I can look back on that now and say, oh my gosh, he taught me about nutrition. He taught me about health. He taught me about the human body and how incredibly amazing it is. And then he put me into the corporate world and said, okay, go learn how to communicate with people. Go. And that's why I can do what I'm doing right now, is because my wife gets stressed out. She's like, oh, you have a podcast in a half hour. So have you prepared? Have you done this? And I was like, I don't need to prepare, right? I know that this is what God has put me on this earth for. And so I'm going to go and just pray before the podcast, and I'm going to have a conversation with the people that I'm having a conversation with. I'm going to let the Lord put the words into my mouth. And I don't need to be stressed about that, because I'm His, and I'm going to portray what I can, through these conversations. Right. So anyway, sorry for the long-winded answer.
But I'm like, let him cook, man. He's just over here cooking. Amen to all of that. I want to share two things. I'll share my two favorite biblical principles, and then I want to, as we start to land the plane, I want to transition to what you're going through now, and kind of how that correlates with obviously your walk with Christ, and you kind of hinted towards it as we were just talking. But before we get into that,
right.
So my favorite business biblical principle is sowing and reaping. That was something, man, that got taught to me at a young age, but it was by someone that wasn't doing it on a biblical way. Basically, they were manipulating God's system, because it's kind of like the force. It could be used for good, or it could be used for evil at the end of the day. It's what's the intention behind that? But what I've found is you truly lean into, if I just focus on sowing seed, right? And you sow your seed with your time, talent, and treasure, right? Those are your three ways that you can sow seed. When you do it from a true place of no expectation, and I'm just here to give, just simply to give, I've experienced firsthand that the blessings come in from ways that you never could think or imagine from the other side of that, right? And when I first learned this principle, once again, from this other mentor that wasn't doing it from a biblical worldview, he was doing it more so on hey, if I do this, I expect this, right? And that's more of that's more like manipulation, right? So I had to unlearn all that stuff. But as I've gotten into the Word of God, really when it comes down to seed, is we can either sow it or we can eat it. And so many people are eating their own seed and then wondering why they're not being given more seed. It's you have to be a good steward with what you've been giving with your time, talent, and treasure. And if you can't demonstrate great stewardship with that, then why should you be given more seed at the end of the day? So
you want to hide that one talent, or do you want to actually make
right
make use of those talents? Right. So it's that I love going back to that principle, because it's wow, it's so easy to see yourself with that one talent, to say, oh geez, I'm just going to hide it and I'm not going to do anything.
For example, it's I'm not going to help you unless you pay me. You know what I mean? And obviously you need to get paid for what you do. And I'm all about that, right? You need money to be able to do all the things. That's the most important thing, but it's up there with oxygen, right? At the end of the day. Right. But sometimes, man, if you just help someone by actually just helping them, I've just found that everything else takes care of itself at the end of the day. So that's something that's been a huge proponent of my business success moving forward, is just really leaning into that principle. So that's why that's my favorite business one, right?
That's awesome.
My favorite family one was learning the right structure of how you live your life, right? And it goes God first, spouse second, children third, family of origin, family of choice fourth, and business is fifth, right? And I can't tell you, Rob, how long business was one, wife was two, God was three, didn't have kids yet, so they weren't even on the board. Family was dead last, right? And once again, that was during that season where like no matter what I built, it was like a Jenga set with like all the pieces pulled out on the bottom. It always tipped over,
Yeah.
right? So as I've leaned into the Bible and looking for truth, it's like I want to run my life in the order that just makes it flow. I don't want to feel like I'm having to push a rock uphill all day, every day, which don't get me wrong, there's
Right.
days and seasons you got to push that rock up the hill, but it should be every day, all day, right? So
True. True.
so
True.
once
True.
me and my wife Rene got in alignment of like, here's how we're gonna live. Here's our template. God first, you and me second, our daughter third, family of origin and choice fourth, and business fifth. I believe that's going to lead to us winning in ways that we've never experienced before in our life. And
Amen.
what I mean by that is if my daughter has a need, that comes above my own family. If my family has a need, that comes before the business. And once again, if my wife has a need, that's before my daughter. I'm like, hey, sorry, sweetie, daddy loves you, but I got to take care of mom here, right? But most
Right.
importantly, God's at the top, right? In terms of what we're called to
Yeah.
do and who we're called to become. And as we've leaned into that as a family, man, it's just made my life so much easier and more peaceful. And once again, it's real scary as an entrepreneur, put business at the bottom of that pile. Cause it's like, that's the thing you want to put
So true.
first. Cause if I don't do this or I don't do that, it's going to go get taken away. And I'm going to have to go get a job and then I'm going to have to kill myself because I ain't going back. And then you're going through all the crazy thoughts, right? But as you start operating that way, once again, I've just experienced the business starts to take care of itself, right? Not saying that there isn't time for the business, but in terms of urgency and
Right.
priority, that's been a huge thing, man. That's helped me not just build a business by design, but a life by design.
Right. Love that. I love
Yeah.
that.
So,
Yeah, it's amazing.
yeah. So, anyway, I want to transition. So, let's talk about you, man. Like, let's talk about this season that you're in with some of these health challenges you're going through and really how that's tying back into your faith.
Yeah, so it's a tough one, because it's like, here I am, my own health solutions company, right? I have this amazing product we built, Exodus, is a super incredible product. It's got 7 biblical ingredients and a molecular hydrogen blend that really helps people with their health. And then all of a sudden, boom, end up having this major health challenge, and I'm just like, Lord, what? Why am I going through this? And but it's interesting. My daughter and her husband were just with us this last 4 days, and his parents both have passed away from cancer, just relatively recent in the last couple of years, and his mom just in the last 6 months. And then I ended up getting diagnosed with melanoma, and now it's stage 3 melanoma. So that means it's in my lymph nodes, and but it hasn't spread wide yet, but it's spread. So that's very, very dangerous thing, and melanoma is like a really dangerous cancer. And so I've been working really hard to treat it holistically and naturally, but man, I never understood how difficult it is to go through this journey and go through this path of I have I have the C word, right? And my wife gets really mad at me. Says, "You can't say that. You can't declare that you have it." And I'm like, "You're right, right?" Because I got to think like
Right.
I don't have it, and that I am healed in Jesus' name, or I am healed. But it's so difficult when you actually it's physically in your body to say I don't have it, right? And I am going to be healed. And so I'm going through this like literal fight, right, in my mind. It's like, yes, I have to have the faith of the woman that the with blood. I need to have that faith. I need to develop that faith. So when I say I'm going to be healed, that He will heal me, right? But then at the same point, I have this stupid thing that's in my body, and it's like, But then I talk to people. I was like, you need to treat your body great. That is still part of your body, right? It's just cells that have gone wrong. You need to teach them how to be better, right? And and heal. And it's just like, so this roller coaster ride of going through this journey is something that I never understood. And I know that there's millions and millions of people who've contracted the C word and are going through difficult periods of time. And I've also, but I'm I'm researching things like crazy. So I'm understanding how to do it holistically and naturally. And then how do I combine modern medicine that I don't trust at all? I don't trust big pharma at all. But how do I use what I can with modern medicine and augment it with all the natural things that I'm learning? And that's God is so good. I want to tell this one God story that is going to be a really, really big part of my story, I believe, in the future. Right? I wanted to not tell my story about what I'm going through now until I was a champion, and I'd beat it, and I can come back and then tell the world how to do it. But I've got counsel that I need to I need to talk through it as I'm going through it, and I think I'll impact a lot of people's lives this way. So I'm more comfortable talking about it now. But the God story through this process is I went to a health conference, and at the health conference there was three or four people at that conference that are amazing holistic practitioners and doctors, and I met with them. And I was on a knee scooter at the time because I'd had surgery on my ankle to remove the melanoma that was in my ankle. And they're like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Well, I've got stage 3 melanoma." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's not good." And I'm like, "Well, this is not good." But they said, "Hey, you need to go talk to this person," right? And they were leading me to, and a couple of people told me the same thing, and I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." There's a cancer center down in Cancun that does this dendritic process with cancer, where they take a portion of your tumor, and then they take your white blood cells, they break down the genetics of your specific tumor, and then they teach your white blood cells how to attack that specific tumor. And so it's using your body to attack your tumor. And it's like, man, that makes a lot of sense. That is you, right? That's your body, and you is fighting the disease that's in your body. So I was just like, that makes total sense to me, right? But then I found out how much money it was. It was like $110,000. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't have $110,000. I can just say, okay, I'm going to go do this process. So I was literally praying, going, Lord, how do I need to suck up all my pride and just do a GoFundMe thing and try to raise money to try to get down to Mexico to do this process? I was like, I really don't want to do that, but is that what I need to do, right? And I was praying, and I was looking at all of the success stories that they had, and they had really good success stories with multiple melanoma patients, and I was like, wow, I really think that's what I need to do. But I'm like, how can I do it? And 3 days later, this is the God moment, right? 3 days later, I'm on a call with my Facebook ads team, who said, a guy private messaged me, says, "Do you have a solid tumor?" And I was like, "That's a really weird question
Yeah.
you're asking me on a Facebook call,"
Right.
right? And then I was like, because he knew I had the cancer, and I said, "Yes, I do." And he's like, "Well, we need to talk right after this call." So I talked to him after the call, and he's like, literally 15 minutes before our call, I was on the call with a hospital down in Tijuana, and we've been doing their Facebook ads for 7 years. And so they've been working on a research project for cancer, and doing this dendritic process, and that they're looking for patients with solid tumors. He says they'll pay for the entire thing if you can just get down to Tijuana. It's just like,
Wow.
just like, are you kidding me? I'm
Dude.
like, so I mean, is that incredible or what? Right? I'm literally researching it, and God's telling me that this is something, because I'm literally praying, right?
Yeah.
Is this something important to me? Should I be doing this? And I just felt that this really great feeling that I should be doing that. But
Wow.
I'm like, man, I really don't know how I'm going to raise the money. Then all of a sudden, boom, he's like, here you go. Just like, wow, it was so powerful. So anyway, I'm in the process of that. So I went down to Tijuana, and they've done the right things to take my tumor and to take my white blood cells, and literally, as we speak, they're creating the solution that I'll go back in a few weeks to get it put back in me to hopefully attack my specific cancer.
Dude,
So
that's awesome,
that's
man.
isn't that an amazing story? So yeah, it's super amazing, super neat, and I'm just praying to the Lord that, hey, one, if you want to heal me, great, right? But if you don't, and you want me to go through this process, and you want me to use this process to help other people, and I believe 100% of my, down to my bones, right, down to the cells in my body, that this is why He's put me on this earth, is to go through this process so that I can go help other people,
Yeah.
right? If I could have multiple years back helped my son-in-law's parents, that's what I could have done, right, if I knew all these things. And now He's teaching me all these things. I'm working with holistic doctors who are phenomenal. I'm reading a book on how to starve cancer, right, and it's all from nutrition and how you use your body to starve cancer, and what you put in. And that's what it's like, going back to my grade school days of learning how to eat well to be a good runner. Right now I'm learning how to eat well to cure your cancer.
Wow.
Right, it's like, wow, God trained me for this process. And so I believe that that's going to be my story, and is how can you pray for healing? How can you that's what happened with this story down in Mexico, right? And I want to be able to really bring it home to people and say, hey, this process is not fun, but it is a process that you can get through, and that I just need to help you get there. And so I believe that's going to be my legacy, is helping people with that big C word, and help them get through it, and even their families to get through it. How do you pray for somebody who is going through it, and how do you help them get through it, rather than just, because it's you need, like you mentioned, you need more than just you shouldn't go through it alone, because it's a very depressing and dark process. Because I've gone through points where it's just like, I'm bottom, right? I am, Lord, why be, right?
Yeah.
And it's tough, but I literally believe that's why I'm here.
I've got nothing else to say. That's the mic drop. I think that's where we need to end the episode, Rob. That is a beautiful
All right.
story. Man, it just made me think about how God, like, I used to literally say this out loud, as God, I know you didn't bring me this far just to bring me this far. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Right.
God finishes everything He starts at the end of the
Yeah.
day. And brother, that is
You're so spot
that's a
on.
beautiful story, man. So, Rob, let's do this. What's the best way for people to connect with you, follow you, find you, do all the things?
Yeah, right now the best way is with my company, Exodus Strong. It's exodusstrong.com is our website, and we have an amazing health solution product that's great. And then you can find me on all of the social media platforms, and then at Rob Rene Health is my platform that I'm going to be releasing my story about my cancer story. And it's not there yet, right? I don't literally have it all built, but I believe that that's why He's put me on the earth. And I was waiting for the grand, I'm healed and I can come and tell my
Right.
story. But now I'm really transitioning that. So you're seeing me in a life of transition where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go just start telling my story as it is. And I believe I'll help people that way. So Rob Rene Health on all the other platforms. And pretty soon I'll have robrene.com, as well as just a way that people can learn about my story and connect with me.
Rob, I just want to honor and thank you for being a leader, dude.
I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
man, because it's once again going through it and being willing to talk about it, much less while you're being tested in the process. Man, that's not something that's easy to do. So I just want to honor you for the process you're going through. I'm going to be praying for you, and I hope all y'all tuning in.
Thank you.
Go follow Rob and go watch his story. I have a feeling that it's going to get even better as we go through this. So, Rob, once again, thank you so much for coming back on the show. It's an honor and a pleasure having you on. And for those of y'all tuning in, make sure you go all in so that you can start living your best life through the blueprint that God's created for you. God bless. Take care.
Amen.